And we are to the shortest video of Chapter 5, Standard Form. I think that we could probably get this done here in 5 to 6 minutes if we get moving. So we need to talk about the two things that we've learned already in this chapter and then stretch on to what the new topic is going to be. Slope-intercept form was y equals mx plus b. Point slope form was y minus y1, is equal to m parentheses x minus x1. And I hope up to this point that you feel comfortable with those. Today we're going to be learning standard form. And standard form is in what we call ax squared. Actually, pause one second. Let me make sure I have this on. I was thinking quadratics. It's not ax squared. It's just ax plus by equals c. And a, b, and c are all regular numbers. So, for example, a standard equation would be 5x plus 2y is equal to 4. You remember early on where I told you to not put the equations or the x's and the y's on the same side? Well, standard form does that. And there's no real reason for standard form, but it's important for us to be able to manipulate equations back and forth. So that's why we're learning it. First thing we have to do when we have standard form is to get rid of the fractions. So I have an equation down here with the fraction of 5, and I have to multiply one of these numbers here to get rid of anything in the denominator. Well, I know that if I multiply this fraction, so if I have 2 over 5 here, if I multiply that times 5, it's going to get rid of the denominators and end up with 2. The same way if I had 3 over 2 times 2, it would be 3, and so on and so forth. But since this is algebra, I have to do the same thing to every term. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some nice parentheses, and I'm going to multiply every term times 5. You could also write it like this, times 5, times 5, times 5 to remind yourself, but I just write it once. So what that means is everything gets multiplied by 5. Y times 5 is 5y. 2/5 x times 5 is just 2x. Don't overthink it. And negative 3 times 5 is negative 15. From here, I need to get all of the x's and the y's on the same side. So I'm going to move this x over by subtracting it. So I get negative 2x plus 5y is equal to negative 15. And there you have it, standard form. I would like you to try that on your own and see how well it goes. Alrighty. For this one, I'm going to multiply every term by 2 because the denominator is 2. So I get 2y is equal to negative 1x plus 14. Everything got multiplied by 2. And I'm going to add 1x to both sides. Never combine these because y's and x's can't be combined. Like middle schoolers at a dance. No 6th graders and 8th graders should be dancing together. And there you go. That's it. Now, to take it one step further, we have standard form here, or we want to get to standard form, but we have to go through all 3 steps, meaning we need to start in point slope, then we need to go to slope-intercept, and then from there we can go to standard. It seems like a long path, but we can do it. So I need to find the slope first, so I'm going to go 1 plus 3 over 1 plus 4, and that'll give me 4 over 5. All right. So then I'm going to pick the ones on the right because they're smaller numbers. So I will go y minus 1 is equal to 4/5 parentheses x minus 1. So we will have some fractions, but that's okay. To get y by itself, I'm going to change colors here to red. I have to distribute. So I get y minus 1 is equal to 4/5 x minus 4/5. If you start using decimals here, that's fine. But remember, when you multiply, you have to get rid of those decimals again. Now, from this point, if I wanted to, I could get rid of all of the fractions now. by multiplying every term by 5, that would be just fine. You can't do it here because we have the parentheses, but you can do it here. So I'm going to do that. I'm actually going to skip a step here, multiply everything by 5. So then y times 5 is 5y minus 5 is equal to 4x minus 4. Now here's something cool about this. What we're learning here, this multiplying by 5 term to get rid of fractions, if you have an equal sign, you can do this for any type of equation. So if you ever have an equation that you're working with and it has fractions in it and you don't want there to be fractions, multiply by that denominator on every term and they can go away. Now to get all the x's on one side, I'm going to subtract 4x. So I get negative 4x plus 5y. Now I'm going to add 5 to both sides. And it gives me positive 1. So early on when I said that you have to go from here to slope-intercept form, you can skip this if you know how. You don't have to, but you can. So that's our answer down here on the bottom. We did a ton of work to get to it, but that is our answer. I'd like you to try this one on your own. First thing we have to do is find the slope. So I would get 3 plus 1 over 1 plus 3, or 2. Oh boy, ruining everything. So I get 4 over 3. So I'm going to pick the number on the left just to do something different, but you will get the same answer either way if you do it right. Y plus 1 is equal to 4/3 parentheses x plus 2. Now I got to distribute, so I get y plus 1 is equal to 4/3 x plus 8/3. And now I definitely want to get rid of the fractions. So I'm going to multiply everything by 3. Y times 3 is 3y plus 3. 4/3 x times 3 is just 4x. 8/3 times 3 is just 8. Now I hope this makes you a little less scared of fractions, because if you turn them to decimals, this whole process is much, much more difficult. So fractions are much easier here. So then I have to subtract all the x's to one side, subtract all the 3's to the other, and so I get negative 4x plus 3y, this goes away, is equal to 5. Now if you picked the other ordered pair, you should have gotten the same answer. There's only one standard form. A couple hints. If you're given lines like this, x equals 3, y equals 2, these are in standard form. And actually, y equals 2 or x equals 3 is in standard form, slope-intercept form, and point slope form. Because their slopes are weird, you won't have to really do anything else with them. If you're given a graph, you need to find 2 points before you start. So you need to get to that first step. Okay, and remember, you need to go to point slope first, and then from that, you need to get to standard. Okay, always remember the order that you can go in. You can't just jump straight to standard. Alrighty, there are the problems.